Any questions for such an enthusiastic presentation? So I have somewhere here a one API back from the days where I was having a customer call Codeplay, which, so yes, there is a question from Sunita there.
So it looks like we have looked into different applications, multiple hardware, different programming models, languages, right? What would be your feedback to the hardware, to the vendor, if you were to tell them, hey, I need better XYZ or improvised ABC? Would you have any feedback to the vendor, hardware architectures?
That's a very hard question because I have not had the opportunity to work very closely with vendors. But if I had the opportunity to do so, I would ask the vendors if they can offer through all the layers of the people that are in between the vendors and the end users, system operators, researchers, whatever, to offer more control to the users that want it and to offer out of the box adaptable solutions to the customers that do not want the control, right? So the AI community doesn't want to tweak all the parameters that we did, but the HPC community does. And those are the same vendors that operate systems that cater to these two communities at the same time. So I would like the vendors not to give a one approach fits all, because unfortunately it doesn't. What that means specifically, and we discussed yesterday with Larry, for instance, would be the control of selecting the MPI collective communications, because both communities, HPC and AI, have collectives, and they suffer and they cannot change them. So if they can, like we selected for scheduling algorithms, the right algorithm for this particular instance of the loop, can we select the right collective for this particular thing that the collective is supposed to communicate? That would be a great idea, a great offering.
Larry.
So you were focusing on, appropriately, on portability at the level that's directly exposed to the programmer, to the right. Is there any hope for any kind of uniformity at the layers below? So in the network area, libfabric provides some of that. The problem is libfabric is not ubiquitous, but at least for those interconnects that use that, I guess the question is, does that provide some help in portability? And if so, is there any hope for anything analogous of a layer like that for the, like GPU vendors and processor vendors?
I will add, it's a very good question. I'm not sure from which angle to address it. Let me address it from the GPU angle. You said the GPU vendors. Many people ask me, have you ported your scheduling work to the GPU? I can't. There's no scheduling to be done on the GPU. But what if I could? Because all the GPU handling of the threads and works is done by the vendor. And no researcher, no user can change that. So that would be a layer of portability that is at the moment not available to anyone else. In the network layer, maybe libfabric maybe doesn't make it all the way to the user code, but I think the MPI library, so for instance, you can imagine MPI collective, whatever, broadcast or reduce, would have a parameter. So in the communication library, not in the user application, not the physicists, but the people developing the MPI library could give more control. That would be actually a great collaboration.
I have a question to Larry, Barney, Dan, Rafael. We recognize Gartner. This is the Gartner classic graph of the peak of inflated expectations, slope of enlightenment. Yes, it's quoted from here, but here should say Gartner, whatever.
Yes.
And my open question is, how comfortable are we with this? Because we have been cycles and cycles. So, for example, I love the crossing the chasm analogy. To me, applies decade after decade. I'm not sure about this. It's not about a question about the presentation. It's about the question which applies to a lot of things that we have been discussing here.
I mean, I guess I don't see how that the first peak is avoidable. It's the nature of the game. You introduce something new, and what else are you going to do? To me, it's in that, in that slope of enlightenment, and after you've realized that I may have a snowflake, or I may be working on something that's just very specific, how do I have some kind of commonality, unification with the rest of the world? Is there a way to make progress there? I'm speaking at a very high level here, but that's I don't know how else to
That's
look
precisely how Gartner makes money.
at it.
No.
Oh, Dan. No, I'll say something now.
Thank you, Barney. Yeah, I think this actually predates Gardner, right? It's the technology curve from disruptive innovation, right, way back when. So and it is inevitable. I worry about in things like performance portability, we keep shifting the curve over, right? Because, had we stuck with MPI plus OpenMP as the programming model, maybe we'd get to the plateau of productivity. But then we do, as what Jeff said in the Exascale project, right? We have more programming models than when we started that to try and converge them, right? So then it's like, no, we will get performance portability via Cocos or Raja or the European equivalent, or and now it's Python and AI codes or automatic code generation, right? And if we keep introducing these new things, we never get further down the hype curve.
Which is, if I
we
may
could be
intervene,
really good at C if we just kept doing it. Yeah.
this is what I wanted to say. Yes, we don't need more programming models. We need more funding in making these both portable and performant.
Right.
I completely agree with you. This is why this is here for all the people who are in all the committees, funding agencies, watching the video or not, or receiving the video because somebody shared it with them. This doesn't qualify as funding research because it's not novel and it's not hype-wise, but it is impactful. And without that, we cannot make these beautiful technologies that are at the early stage actually lead the peak of expectations, not inflated, and actually not go very low on the disillusionment.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Floriana, on that. It's way easier to create a new programming model or library than it is to get it all the way to the end there, right, where things are robust and mature. As Barney's going to talk about microkernels or something in that situation, but
That's the right answer for the world.
Yeah.
No, I think that hey, come on, it was the right technology. It takes so this is sort of assuming you do this hype cycle once, right? And in general, I think that most of these hype cycles take 3 or 4 times the hit, right? And you look at AI, right? In the AI boom and bust cycle, and there's been at least 3 of them, and maybe we're finally on the way out. I think it's overly simplistic in that sense, right? Is that I would say the same thing on data flow a long time ago, right? I had assumed that by the time it hit its 3rd cycle, it was going to win. Turns out I was wrong on that one, but you hit a couple of versions of this rather than the one where it comes up and down. There's another one, there's another one, there's another one going.
Join me to say thank you very much for this fantastic presentation.
Thank you.